Welcome everyone to the Emerging Civil War Symposium 2025. I'm here with Sarah K. Bierle, author of her latest entry in the Emerging Civil War series. So Sarah, what drew you to kind of the figure of Pelham?
Right, that's a great question. So I started off with a blog post, actually. We were doing a series, I believe it was a series on artillery many years ago, on the Emerging Civil War blog. You can certainly find it in the archives. And I knew about John Pelham a little bit. I wanted to know more. So I ended up reading Jerry Maxwell's biography on him, a large one. Enjoyed it very much, kept reading other biographies, and was like, wow, there are a lot of different stories that are told about this Civil War figure. What's going on? Had some strong feelings about some of the things I read, but wasn't sure where the stories were coming from. How could we track it down? What primary sources were being used? So started off with questions that I had, and then I was grateful that Chris Mikowski and Ted Savas were willing to take a chance with the Pelham book and let me write it.
Awesome, yeah. So what's one thing, I guess, that you learned about John Pelham, that you didn't know before doing the research and writing the book?
I am impressed with how skilled he was with horse artillery. And I think that's something that comes up in lots of biographies. Like, we find him on Civil War battlefields and battle accounts. You might be reading about 2nd Manassas, and oh look, here's John Pelham. But really digging a little deeper into what he is doing with artillery on battlefields in Virginia, particularly in the year 1862, which is his big year commanding the Stuart Horse Artillery, from battles in the Peninsula Campaign through 2nd Manassas, the Maryland Campaign, Loudoun Valley Campaign, all the way up to a big climactic moment at Fredericksburg, which is witnessed by lots of soldiers, and it even makes Southern, national, and then international news. But really digging into where do we find Pelham with his cannons on a battlefield? What does that tell us about mobile firepower? How is he employing it in these different situations? That was something that really stands out to me.
And for the people that might not know, the difference between artillery versus horse artillery, can you kind of give like a cliff notes, like what's special about horse artillery that might not, be applicable to regular artillery?
Exactly. Thank you for asking that question, Evan. In the Civil War, when we're talking about field artillery, it can get a little confusing because field artillery is generally pulled by horses or mules. So it's easy to go, oh, horse artillery. No. It's slightly different. The easiest way to think of it is field artillery. The gunners have to march alongside those guns. Maybe they can hitch a ride on the limber chest, on a caisson, something like that. Horse artillery, everybody gets a horse. So all the gunners are going to be mounted. Now, you might lose a horse might go lame, things might have to shift around, but your guys are going to be up on horses, which means that they're all going to be able to move a lot faster. So the idea is if everybody's mounted, now these cannons can keep up with the cavalry, which is where you see Confederate cavalry commander James Ewell Brown Stuart, or Jeb Stuart. He wants horse artillery. He's putting together a plan for a horse artillery battery in the late fall of 1861, and he wants that mobile firepower, being able to bring a cannon to a position, fire a few shots, and then very rapidly take that cannon away, either as the cavalry moves to another position or to just advantageously reposition that cannon somewhere else.
Wow.
So think of it as, if it's horse artillery, everybody gets to ride, everybody gets a horse. If it's field artillery, yeah, horses have to do the hard work of pulling the guns. Most of the guys are going to be walking along.
For sure. No, that makes sense. And, we're here at the Symposium, right? Last year, ECW celebrated its 10th anniversary. We're going to keep that celebration going for another 10 years, right, until the 20th anniversary. So what's, when you think about your career with ECW, what does Emerging Civil War mean to you?
I'm really grateful for all the opportunities I've had with Emerging Civil War and the coaching that I got, the mentorship that I got, particularly for writing. And, I started off in my publishing journey with historical fiction, which is a lot of fun, and I did a lot of research wanting to be as accurate as possible. Like, I have research binders, and then I turned it into a fictional story with a lot of history behind it. But learning to write nonfiction and having editors send back pieces like, how do you know this? You know? And I'm like, but it's a logical conclusion. And having the editor go, okay, but it's a conclusion. But then learning, like, how can we ask questions? How can we bring forward but point out, this might be what happens. This is someone else's experience. It might be similar to what John Pelham experienced, because there are holes in Pelham's story. And we want to treat those with respect, and we can draw some conclusions in some areas, but how do you do that without writing fiction? And that was something that editors at Emerging Civil War, I got stuff sent back. I've got stories, but in a good way at the end of the day. And so grateful for that, grateful for the opportunity to speak at symposiums over the years, make wonderful friendships with people in the history world, both as colleagues and then people who love history, like you watching this video, or, people here at the symposium right now. I just ran into people that, like, I have seen them at symposiums for the last few years, and it's always great to see them here, catch up. How's it going? What are you reading? Where have you been lately? It's a really great community.
Excellent. Yes. So on behalf of Emerging Civil War, thanks, Sarah, for joining us, and we'll see you online and on the battlefield.